Thank you for joining us for another edition of District Directions. I'm Amanda Patterson.
And I'm Lawrence Bothwell.
Up first on District Directions is Gary Kramer's interview with Dr. Dick Schiller.
The Norman Public Schools and the community of Norman will be going through a transition this year as we reconfigure our school system and open a second high school. Keeping us updated on that transition process is Dr. Richard Schiller. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you,
This
Gary.
is a big change ahead of us, not only with facilities, but with grade levels, curriculum, adjustments, boundaries. There are many things involved in a transition to a new reconfiguration. Mention what some of those are and how you will be updating us on that process.
Okay, Gary. Yes, it will be a big process. I think as anyone could understand who thinks about it for very long at all, we're going through what is probably I think the biggest change in the Norman Public Schools in at least 25 years, probably a lot longer than that. We're changing the entire setup of our schools at the secondary level. We're going from 3 middle schools, which we currently have, to 4 middle schools. And that's really important. That's an important change. It can get overshadowed in view of the fact that we're bringing a new second high school online. But I think it's mighty important to realize that we're also bringing a new 4th middle school online to help pull down some of those numbers that we have at our 3 current middle schools. They're currently around 1,000 students each, about, on the average probably. And we think that's too big. We think we can serve them better and give them more individualized kinds of attention and have a better atmosphere and a culture for them if we have them in a smaller setting than that. Hence, 4th, we will in the very near future then, and next August, we'll be going to open Alcott Middle School, which is now West Mid-High. I think in its history, I believe West has been a junior high school in the past, before it was a mid-high, and now it will become a middle school, and its design and its campus, I think, eminently suits it to all of those tasks, but I think it'll be a great middle school, as our other 3 are. We will not then, of course, have mid-highs. That's going to be a major change. As I say, West will become Alcott, and Central Mid-High also will be going through a major change in that it will become Longfellow Middle School. So the 2 mid-highs will become middle schools and join Irving and Whittier as our cluster of 4 middle schools in Norman. Going to a second high school in any community is a major change in itself. That's a big change to go through. Changing from a 9 through 12 curriculum, or to a 9 through 12 curriculum at those schools from a 9-10 and an 11-12 configuration is also a big change, and one that I think is going to be a very positive one for both of those schools. We think our students that'll have a chance to attend those schools for 4 years will get a much greater feel for their school instead of just be passing through it in 2 years and moving on to another one. We think we'll be able to develop their leadership capabilities, their involvement in school, and all around we feel it'll be a more wholesome and productive environment for our students.
Now you mentioned that we went through a reconfiguration 25 years ago. You weren't here. No. I was. And one of the things I remember is that
I was younger than you,
Yes, I'm sure you are. You were still in school, I'm sure. One of the things I remember is that even after the middle schools opened, there was still a segment of the community saying, let's rethink, let's not do this, let's rethink it, let's take this one back. And there's some of that feeling even now. Let's not do this, let's take this decision back, let's rethink it, let's keep it the way it is. Is that even, is there even a remote possibility that this decision could be rescinded? Or is this a decision that we just need to live with and get on with?
In my estimation, this is a completed decision. The new high school has been named. It has been bonded over the past 3 years and will be for the next 3 years, probably, as is Norman High School. We've set about making some very significant changes at Norman High School, as well as Norman North, to adapt to this configuration. I think that's what's going to happen next August. We're going to have Norman North High School and Norman High School.
So this decision's been made, and now we will make it work.
Yes.
And I know there's a lot involved to making it work, and we can see some of the progress toward the transition just with the construction, and that's the most exciting, glamorous part as well. But there are some things that are not so obvious, such as the curriculum and the staffing and the grouping and the classes and those types of things. And I'm sure those are the things that you'll be updating us on as we move in our transition to the new high school and new configuration here in Norman with Dr. Richard Schiller. Thank you.
And now here's an update on the Longfellow construction courtesy of Dr. Dick Schiller.
Good evening. Thank you for joining me on Transition Updates. We're here at Longfellow Middle School, which will, within less than a year, become Norman High School North. We've been doing a lot of addition to this site, added some 160,000 additional square feet to this place, and we're about to begin, in the next few months, remodeling the existing Longfellow building as well. I have with me today Mr. Bob Wright, principal architect from the firm Lock Wright Architects, who are, of course, working with this project. Hi, Bob.
Good evening, Dick. How are you?
Doing fine. We haven't done a taping here, Bob, since about last April. What have we accomplished since then? Has the weather affected us, or are we on schedule, or how do you feel we're doing?
Dick, most of the work that we've done in Phase 2 has been on the interior, although we're adding on to the exterior on the east side of the building. But the majority of the work that we'll see this evening is being done on the inside of this space. And so I think as we walk through this, you can see the amount of work that we have accomplished since last April.
Okay, good. One of the places we looked at last April was the part of the administrative offices that are being constructed. Let's go on in and see how that has changed since that period of time. This is the reception area for the students and for parents that come into the school. The principal's office will be back behind me, and the assistant principals and counselors' offices will be off in this direction. I think the last time we were here, we didn't have nearly the finish work going on in the building that we do now. Bob, tell me about these offices.
This has probably the most finished space, one of the most finished we'll see this evening. And as Dick said, the vice principals and counselors will be in this area right off of the reception area. And behind us is the existing administration that will be transitioned into this space as we continue to remodel and complete our work.
Mm.
The next thing they'll be doing here is probably getting the ceilings laid in and some of the work lights in. But again, they're fairly along on this space, and this should, next couple of weeks, really show a lot of completion toward the completion of the project.
Okay, we've done much in the rest of the building too. A lot of progress has been made. Bob, let's take a walk through and see where we are at this point. We're in a kind of a mess, of course. It's not a real clean working time. But the last few months of a new project can be pretty messy, can't they?
Very messy. The terrazzo floors have just been completed, and they're continuing to grind those, so you have a lot of construction dust. We'll see a lot of the painting being done now, which also creates a little bit of a mess. But all of these things have to be accomplished, obviously, to complete a building.
Okay, we're coming in the main hallway, the main entrance hallway to the new high school, and we're looking over here towards the media center, They're in there painting now, and getting that to the point where we can start doing some more floor work and counter type work that's needed in that room.
I think you'll see as we look in this space that it's very open and a lot of natural light. There are a lot of skylights in the area, but we felt that this area needed to be a very focal point for the school. And as you can see, it's very attractive in the area of coffered ceilings and skylight areas. The painters are texturing the sheetrock at this point, so you can see their efforts in that respect.
It's going to be a big library, isn't it?
Very large. This is a large high school, and we're looking at probably 10 to 12,000 square feet of a library media center area.
One of the areas that our cameras can't pick up very well is behind this plastic sheeting are a number of conference rooms and offices and preparation areas for the media center too that will take shape within the next few weeks.
That's correct. The supporting areas are adjacent to this large open area that will house the books and the student seating and so forth, and they have a tremendous library here, and I think it'll be very functional for the students.
We're going to take a walk around the building and look in a classroom, and then we'll come out in the student commons area, and by way of just geographically locating that, it's right back of this library.
Yes,
so we're going to make a loop around it.
Immediate to the east of this, and also has a lot of natural light in it, is the student center. And like Dick said, we'll end up there in a minute to look at that space.
Okay. This is one of several hallways running through this very large addition to this building. It looks much bigger, an actual visual on it than it does on the blueprints, doesn't it, Bob?
Yes, obviously the real thing is always more exciting and more, I guess, vivid in respect to the looking at the plans. But we do have a lot of quarters. The building will be very easy to walk around in and find the different classrooms for the students. So I think from that standpoint, circulation has turned out very well.
Okay. We'll take another left here and down another corridor yet. I can see some lockers being placed back here.
Yes, the lockers came in this week, and they've got those set in front of the openings where they will be installed. And you can also see that the ceiling grid is in, so we're getting very close to really getting down to the final weeks of construction.
Let's take a look here at one of our science rooms. This will be a science lab and lecture and discussion and group area. We'll actually have about 13 of these rooms with several preparation areas between pairs of rooms. And you can see we're beginning to get some of the cabinetry set in.
Right, a lot of the millwork is being established at this point, and as you can see, these are going to be tremendous science classrooms. The staff has worked with us very closely in determining the equipment and the needs and the shape of these rooms, and they had a very strong input into the final design, and we're very pleased that that these are going to be probably some of the finest science rooms in the state of Oklahoma.
I think you've raised an important point. On all of the construction for this site, we have preceded it with meetings with Norman teachers and gotten their suggestions for what they'd like to have in the rooms and the sizes of them and the way they would be arranged physically. And while we're not able to do everything that everyone wants, we think we've been able to come up with some good solutions to the needs of the teachers that are going to last us for a long time into the future. But their input has just been valuable, and there's no other way to say it, just extremely valuable. We have a fine group of professional teachers in our community, and they've been a great help in helping to design this site.
They really have. We've just had a tremendous amount of cooperation, and I think the end product here will reflect that association with our firm and your staff and the staff, the teaching staff.
Let's go take a look at that student commons, cafeteria. It's all one joint space that will be used by for several purposes. It's a student commons area for before and after school. It's a cafeteria at lunch. It's a lobby waiting area for basketball games and other things that go on in the gymnasium. Is that right, Bob?
That's correct. This area was located in the center of the building so that most of the students will be passing through this space quite often during the day. So it becomes a multi-purpose center, but it's also a very visible space for all the students and staff during the day, and it's going to be a very beautiful space.
They're sanding the floors and painting the walls in here, so one of our prime goals is to not get sanded or painted ourselves, but still it's important for you to see what's going on, I think. In the
right, they're finishing the terrazzo floors and also doing some work above the ceiling area, so again, this is a very large open area. It'll be very exciting to be in, and we're looking forward to seeing the finished product.
I think the kids are going to have a lot of fun in this area. It's going to be a good place for them to meet and relax and visit. Over here in the center of the floor is a big circular area that will have a representation of the school mascot, their logo, which is the Timberwolf, and it, I think, is going to be very pretty. At least we hope it will be. And will be done in the school colors, as will much of the building here, to convey that whole feeling through the facility.
Well, the terrazzo obviously is a very good material to use. It's very serviceable, but yet it's a very beautiful finished material, and this whole area will have a terrazzo floor, and as Dick said, with the logo in the center.
Any other things we need to see here, Bob?
Why don't we walk over to the kitchen area? This is kind of a new concept in kitchen planning. We have kind of a scramble area for the students to get their food, and it's adjacent to the student center, so they will be coming out here looking at the worker working there. We'll be walking in here, and it's also going to be a very nice space, but it's not quite finished, and the kitchen equipment hasn't come in yet. But we're going to see an extremely exciting space where the kids have a lot of different types of food that will be available to them, and I think it's going to be a very neat deal for the kids for their food service.
I think it's kind of fitting in a way that the first students that are going to get an opportunity to occupy this building would be the present students at Longfellow Middle School. As we complete this new addition, in the next couple of months, in the month of October, November, in that time span, we're going to start moving classes from Longfellow building over into this facility until we get them all moved over here, and then we'll start remodeling the old Longfellow building. So for a semester and a half, probably, the Longfellow students will be the first ones to use Norman High School North's building. And I think that's going to be kind of exciting.
It is. Obviously the schedule will be to move them into this eventually, and to take phase 3, which Dick mentioned earlier, to remodel the existing Longfellow into classrooms that will be the final completion of the total high school, plus finishing up the gymnasium and dressing areas and areas that will be supporting the athletic program and music. We also have a very large music area.
We also have a very large expanse of paving here for parking out that will come out the east side of the building.
We're on the east side of the building. The majority of the student parking will be on the east side. We have parking all around the building, but the majority of that will be also on the east, and that will be part of the wrap-up phase 3 and before we totally move the high school into this complex.
Thank you for joining us again on Transition Updates.
Now here's Norman's Teacher of the Year, Linda Kramer, who opens a door to word processing for her students on Opening Doors.
Today we'll visit one of my favorite places at Central, our Macintosh lab. Last week we saw how teachers use computer technology to produce professional-looking brochures for their classes. But the best work in a computer lab is done by the students. Today, Sandra Effinger, a 10th grade English teacher at Central, has brought her class to the lab. As she instructs them, using a computer hooked up to a monitor, the students produce reports based on stories they've been reading. Placing text blocks, inserting clip art, justifying margins, enlarging the font, accessing spell and grammar checks, saving as to their disks, and laser printing their copies keeps the students busy for the entire class period. Just as the bell begins to ring, the laser printer jams. That's what happens sometimes when 25 students all try to print at once. It's good that Casey Shaw, computer lab expert at Central, is there to lend a hand.
I'm here in the Central Computer Lab with Sandra Effinger, and boy, it was busy this hour.
It was busier than I thought it was going to be, actually, because most of them got more done than I expected.
Can you tell us what we saw?
Okay, this was our second visit to the lab. They were actually revising their first drafts of their fairy tales. They'd done adaptations, and most of them got to a point where they could worry with details like putting in headers and footers and artwork. They all got to proofreading. It was really nice. It was really impressive.
I noticed that they were doing things like inserting and,
Yes.
and doing all these pretty sophisticated computer skills. And this is only your
It's
second
the
visit?
second visit. Well, that's probably because they came in last year. These are sophomores, so they have had an advantage. And we have a number of people in this class who, up front, said they were pretty familiar with computers to start with.
You were working really hard, and Mrs. Shaw, the lab expert, was working very hard to try to help everyone. Why do you do this? Why do you work this hard? Why don't you just let them do it at home and bring it?
Because they don't all have it at home to bring it, for one thing. That's probably the most important reason we do have the lab.
Well, is there some sort of advantage to doing it on a computer rather than writing out the way I had to in ink?
For some students, particularly for the student who doesn't have great skills, I hate to say that, but that's the person who benefits the most. I myself am not a very good speller, and I like having a spell checker to help me. For a lot of them, the fact that they can put out a final product makes it worth revising, and that's a real important step. A lot of people say that with computers, you almost do too much revising. It's hard to ever be finished.
Right. I can't just complain about that to me today. He had an essay to write over the weekend, and he said that he kept finding more mistakes. Every time he'd print out a copy, he'd go back and fix it and make it better and better and better. And that's a really good skill that they're learning, isn't it?
Absolutely. And they're more likely to expand. There are a lot of writing techniques they won't use if they're worried about that final copy looking pretty, and they have to do it by hand.
Right.
They'll add in details, they'll change words, they'll use a thesaurus. They do a lot of nice things with it. I was real impressed.
Great. Well, it was fun watching your kids in here this hour. I think they were having a good time, really.
I think they felt pretty good about the work today.
English classes do use the lab frequently, but all classes use the lab and get great results on their products. Running a computer lab takes lots of money, but our district is committed to providing students with training in technology, training that will prepare students for whatever lies ahead. All of Norman's schools have computer labs. Our district is now working toward the goal of providing a computer in every classroom, which some of our sites have already accomplished. I'm Linda Kramer, and I'll see you next time on Opening Doors.
Here is Mrs. Connie Blaney once again for an NPS update.
We want to extend a warm welcome and congratulations to all of our new employees in Norman Public Schools. We have several new administrators this year in Norman. Billy Nettles has been named the principal at Longfellow Middle School. He was previously at Whittier Middle School as the assistant principal. His replacement at Whittier is Richard Dennis, who was the assistant principal last year at Truman Elementary. 8 teachers in the district have been assigned as administrative interns for the 1996-97 school year. Assigned to Truman Elementary are Jana Taves, Madison, first semester, and Randy Waddell from Eisenhower, second semester. To Irving Middle School are Dana Morris from Longfellow, first semester, and Tony Christian from Norman High School, second semester. Working at Longfellow Middle School will be Nina Williams from Monroe, first semester, and Patricia Smith, Whittier, second semester. Assigned to Whittier Middle School are Carolyn Harris from Longfellow, first semester, and Susan DeMoss from Central Mid-High will be their second semester. Congratulations again to Linda Kramer, Norman's District Teacher of the Year, who was chosen a finalist for Oklahoma Teacher of the Year during a ceremony in July at the Oklahoma Administrators Conference held in Oklahoma City. Mrs. Kramer was one of 12 finalists in the state recognized by State Superintendent Sandy Garrett during the morning General Assembly. She was chosen from a field of 199 local district teachers of the year. This is the second year in a row that a Norman teacher has been named finalist in the State Teacher of the Year program. Last year's District Teacher of the Year, Will Allen, also qualified as a finalist. The Central Mid-High English teacher is now eligible for the Oklahoma Teacher of the Year, which will be announced on September 24th in a morning ceremony at the State Fair in Oklahoma City. The Oklahoma Teacher of the Year will represent the state in the National Teacher of the Year competition. We wish Mrs. Kramer good luck in this event. Norman Public Schools Foundation grant proposals are due Wednesday, October 22nd, Ann Nuttall, Foundation member and chairman of the Allocations Committee, has announced. The applications will be sent to all the school sites this week. Grants should be sent to the Foundation Office, 131 South Flood. Announcement of recipients for the fall grant round will take place during faculty meetings in late November. This is the Foundation's 13th year serving the public school children of Norman. This past spring, the Foundation exceeded its fund drive campaign goal, raising $74,351 to date. Neil Schimmer, member and treasurer of the Foundation, has announced. In the spring of 1996, the Foundation's Allocations Committee awarded 39 grants to teachers for innovative classroom projects and 4 staff development grants for teachers. The total amount for the spring round was $16,395.50, which includes the district's matching money for staff development grants. Twice during the school year, in fall and spring, the Foundation awards grants from the Allocations Committee. A total of $222,791.74 has now been given in grants since the Foundation's inception in 1984. New officers for the 1996-97 school year are James Elder, President, Jenny Daigle, Vice President, Kay Wood, Secretary, and Neil Schimmer, Treasurer. Patrons will go to the polls on Tuesday, October 8th, to decide a school bond issue for the improvement of school sites, construction projects, and purchase of technology equipment. The bond issue will not increase property taxes. The Norman Board of Education authorized the bond election at the July 15th school board meeting. Voters will decide on a $5,530,000 building and equipment bond and a $150,000 transportation equipment bond. The $5,530,000 building equipment bonds will be used to acquire school fixtures, furniture, instructional technology, computers, band and orchestra equipment, science and other educational equipment. Proposed construction includes completion of the science building at Norman High School and continued conversion of Longfellow Middle School into Norman High School North. These bonds will also be used to construct a new student food serving area at Central Mid High School, renovation of the Norman High School tennis courts, improvements in the softball field at Irving Middle School, and additional playground equipment at Lincoln. The $150,000 in transportation bonds will provide funds for the purchase of an additional school bus and vans to transport students. Everyday Miracles Every Day is this year's theme for the United Way campaign of Norman. The campaign will be underway next week in Norman Public Schools with a goal to surpass last year's total donation of $33,261.97. We appreciate the spirit and generosity of our employees who continue to support the students and families who are direct beneficiaries of the United Way agencies, Superintendent James Gray said. The Norman Public Schools United Way campaign is scheduled from September 23rd through October 4th. United Way packets will be distributed to principals at a meeting on September 17th. Each school site will be conducting its own drive. The cutoff date for submitting pledges is set for October 4th so that payroll deduction pledges can begin with the October paycheck and run through June. The United Way of Norman campaign's kickoff and pacesetter luncheon will be held on September 13th. Superintendent Gray and several other administrators will represent Norman Public Schools at this luncheon. The 1996 United Way of Norman's campaign goal is $1,163,000. The Public Service Division's goal, which Norman Public School is a part of, has a goal this year of $60,274. For additional information about the district's campaign, contact the Public Relations Office at 366-5961. For additional information regarding the United Way of Norman, contact the Norman United Way office at 329-2025. For Norman Public Schools, I'm Connie Blaney.
Be sure to tune in next time for the next edition of District Directions.
For Lawrence Bothwell, I'm Amanda Patterson.
So long.